Hey, before I share my story, there are two things that you should know about me. One is that I've been serving in the Air Force for over 35 years. Yes, I am that old. That's when I lost the mullet. But being in the Air Force that long, I do end up fitting a lot of the stereotypes. I'm very organized, early to bed, early to rise, very neat and clean, to include the car I drive, and that's a very clean car. I'm talking like surgically clean, sterile environment inside that car. I'm also able to make decisions in stressful situations pretty quickly, and the Air Force teaches us something, and feel free to write this down. This is a process for decision making. It's called the OODA loop, O-O-D-A. Observe, orient, decide, and act. Observe your situation, orient yourself to that situation, come up with some courses of action, run a risk assessment meter, decide, and then act out, do it. The other thing you should know about me is I'm a local guy, grew up here in Loudoun County. I live out in western Loudoun County. Does anybody else live out there? Yeah, we got a few. It's rural. It's rural. We don't get a lot of unsolicited or visitors out there. Our friends, family, they just let themselves in the back door. There are a few of them here. They don't even knock. So, August 11, 2021. It is one of those hot upper 90s and humid days that we get here in Virginia, and it's my mom's birthday. My wife's out of town, and my adult daughter and I are home, and we're gonna take my mom out to dinner at her favorite restaurant. So we're getting ready, and the doorbell rings. The doorbell never rings. At first I think about just blowing it off, and I'm not gonna answer that, but on second thought, I should probably see who that is. So I open the door, and they're standing in front of me. At my porch is a tall, wiry guy, about 6'3", 190, early 50s, kind of a scruffy t-shirt and jeans, kind of a rough-looking guy, and he introduces himself as Eric, and he says that he's got a sick dog that needs oxygen, and he would like to plug his oxygen generator into the outlet next to my garage. So I run my OODA loop and my risk assessment meter. It's pretty low. Sure, Eric, go ahead. So I see him go out to his truck, which is parked out on the road in front of the house, and it's towing a trailer with a couple of big logs on it. And I see him pick up an old black lab mix that's kind of limp in his arms and a little black bag, and he carries that over to my garage. So I go over and meet him. And as he's pulling out the little cord for the oxygen, a little cup that goes over the muzzle of the dog, he's explaining that his dog, Maggie, is getting up there in age, and she's got a heart problem, and he didn't want to leave her at home where he lives out in West Virginia in a sawmill. So he took his dog to work, and the heat of the day just totally stressed Maggie out, and his old truck didn't have AC. And as he was driving home, she was really having a difficult time, and he didn't think they'd make it home. So that's why he stopped. So as he's feeding Maggie the oxygen, her condition's not really improving. She's still struggling with every breath. She's foaming at the mouth. So I'm thinking we should go inside where it's cool. I run my risk assessment meter, it's still pretty low. So I was like, hey, Eric, let's gather up this stuff and go down to the coolest place in the house, the basement, and put her on the cold tile floor and see if that helps. So we come in, and then he gets everything set up again, and he's giving the dog oxygen, and it's really still not making a difference. So I think we should really have a vet take a look at Maggie. So I ran that past him, and I said, hey, my vet, she just lives down the road. Maybe she can swing by and take a quick look at Maggie. And his response was, well, thanks, but I really don't have any means to pay. It's like, oh, really? The dog needs to be seen. So don't worry about it, Eric. I'll take care of any expenses. So I called my vet. She didn't answer, but she texted a response right back and said, hey, sorry, I'm with another patient right now. How can I help? So I texted back the situation. She said, got to reduce the temperature of that dog. So try wetting a towel with cold water, put that over the dog, and see if that helps. So we do that, and about that time I hear, hello, coming from my back door. That's my mom. She's here for her birthday dinner. And then my daughter comes down the stairs. She's all dressed and ready to go. And now I have to explain to him, there's this guy, his dog, and an oxygen generator down in the basement. We can't just leave them there as we go to dinner. I ran my risk assessment meter and it's too high for that. So how about takeout, Mom? How does that sound? They're good with that. So, we start looking at the menu and getting our order in, and we can't eat without Eric. So, hey, Eric, what would you like for dinner? And his response was, I couldn't impose, but we insisted. Eric, what would you like? So we showed him the menu, we put the order in. So my mom and my daughter, they go out and go grab dinner. They're back in just a few minutes. And by then, they start setting up dinner in the dining room because, that's where people eat their food, right? But Eric, he couldn't come up because he still had to hold the oxygen on Maggie. So we decided, well, let's go join him. So we just set up down on the basement floor on the tile and had dinner with Eric and the dog Maggie. So after we wrapped dinner up, what do you do for a birthday dinner? You've got a cake, right? So my daughter made a special homemade birthday cake for my mom, brought it down with a little candle, and we start to sing. And Eric can carry a tune. Who knew? So as we're wrapping up dinner, we noticed that, hey, Maggie's starting to breathe on her own now. So, hey, let's give her a little test walk around the yard and see how she does. And let's wrap this up because, it's getting late. I'm early to bed, early to rise. It's a work night. So as soon as we take her out, she hits that hot, steamy air still and immediately has trouble breathing again. So we brought her back in and, all right, we're going to have to figure something out. Eric, exactly where do you live? How close is it? He goes, just into West Virginia, just across the state line. I'm like, okay. How about if we put Maggie in my old farm truck that has air conditioning and we can follow you up there? Risk assessment meter's still kind of low on that, so we're good. Hey, he thinks that's a great idea. It's like, okay, great. We start packing up everything, get the dog in the truck, and start the truck up and notice that the gas gauge is on E. Really? Who was the last person that drove this truck and didn't fill it up? Well, what are we going to do next? That dog is not getting into my surgically clean environment car. No way. But wait, my wife is out of town. She's not as particular about her car. Risk assessment meter high, but acceptable. We're taking Mom's car. So we transfer stuff over there. My mom, she packs up and heads home. We say goodbye to her and happy birthday. And so we get in the car and we start following Eric out to West Virginia. And so my daughter's driving. I'm holding the dog in the back, got the air conditioner cranked all the way up. And my daughter calls my wife, that's out of town, right? Just to let her know what's going on. She told her the whole situation, and my wife freaks out that this sounds exactly like a serial killer setup. You all are getting murdered. You're gonna die. But I explained, hey, Eric seems like a regular guy. Everything's gonna be fine. It's not too far from here. It won't take us long. So we're following Eric across the state line and past Charlestown, past Martinsburg, past Hedgesville. Now we don't have cell phone coverage. Risk meter pretty high now. Now we're following him down some country little windy road and then down his driveway, which is a little gravel path down to the sawmill. It's dark, it's secluded, there's sharp objects everywhere. That risk meter is it's pegged. Whew. Wow, okay. As we rolled up to the sawmill, he parks his truck. I tell my daughter, you get the car turned around for a fast getaway. I'm gonna take the dog out. You lock the doors behind me, keep the engine running. If I'm not back in 2 minutes, leave without me. Call 911 when you get cell reception. So I carry Maggie out into the sawmill, following Eric in. He set up a little bed for her. Got the oxygen generator all hooked up again. He's all set. And I tell you, Eric was just so appreciative of all that we had done that night. He actually reached for his wallet and offered to pay for dinner and gas. But I said, Eric, just hold on to that. I'm glad that we can help you out tonight. So my daughter and I get back in the car. We leave, and we go home. No one got murdered. That night, my risk meter was as high as it's been in a long time. I'm glad we could help out someone in need and answered the door. My wife's car looked like there was a hair bomb explosion in there. It took me a while to clean that up. But I'm glad we were able to help a stranger out in need. And I tell you, it was a birthday my mom will never forget. Thank you.